All right, well, welcome to another episode of Behind the Grind. I am your host, Sherrod Schuler, and I'm so excited today for my guest that I have in the grind seat. He's from Albany, Georgia. And let me just give you a little background. He's a mentor, he's a father, he's a teacher. And let me just say, he's doing some extraordinary things right now with the work that he is doing. He is the founder of the X for Boys, a mentoring program there in Albany, Georgia. If you haven't heard of this young man, believe me, you will be hearing a lot more from him. He's only 21. And so without further ado, let me introduce you to my guest today, no other than King Randall. Welcome to Behind the Grind, man.
What's going on? Let's get on the grind.
Oh, man. So I'm so ecstatic to have this opportunity to talk to you, man, because you have been a light of inspiration. I'm sure you've been hearing this over and over again about what you've been doing. And I know many of us, you're probably wondering, many of us probably haven't come into light of you until probably the recent events, right? But you've been doing some work for quite some time. So just for the sake of my audience, for quite a few people that still haven't heard of you, can you just tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing there in Albany, Georgia?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my name is King Randall. I'm 21 years old. I'm the founder of the X for Boys program in Albany, Georgia. Our program teaches young men ages 11 to 17 the different skill trades, how to work on cars, work on houses, such as changing oil, changing brakes, alternators, radiators, water pumps, changing ceiling fans, toilets, sheetrock, flooring, you name it. All these things we are teaching the boys. But this program I started simply because where I live in Albany, our poverty rate is extremely high and our crime rate is extremely high. And where we live, we are at one point the fourth poorest city in the nation, and we were also the murder capital at one point.
Wow, okay.
And looking at the ages of the young men that are committing these crimes in my age group and younger, that was a problem for me. Also considering that there are no rehab programs at all in Southwest Georgia from juveniles coming from the juvenile court system. This was an extreme issue for me. And going to different stop the violence rallies, et cetera, is like every time something happens with our young men, everybody wants to have a meeting and all these meetings that people want to have every time, somebody gets killed. But I'm just like, these children are out crying for help every day. Why aren't we out working with them? So I started a program called the X for Boys. I started doing field trips. I made some flyers on my phone. I sent them to different churches. I passed them out at restaurants. I went to football practices, basketball practices. I went and passed out all these flyers. Mind you, I was 19 at the time, and I had got 20 young men, and we took them all to the Center for Civil and Human Rights in Atlanta, and we also took them to the African American History Museum. We took these young men there, and to see the boys asking questions, to see them, wanting to get out of their conditions, I knew that's where I needed to be because they just needed some consistency. So then right after that, I started teaching them how to work on cars. I did an oil change workshop immediately after that with my uncle. I did it at his house. I made another flyer on my phone, went and passed out the flyers everywhere, went and passed them out at restaurants, put it on social media, went to churches, etc. And I got 20 boys at the oil change workshop. I taught 20 boys how to change oil on a vehicle. And they all got certificates and things like that. And to see the kids so excited and their parents calling and saying, how happy they were to get certificates, especially for those young men who aren't academically inclined for school. A lot of them that can work with their hands and get a certificate, they were excited about it. So immediately after that, I started doing another workshop. I started teaching them how to change brakes, and they got certificates as well. And so immediately after that, I lost my job, and it was the summertime. So I was like, well, I guess this is God pushing me to do what it is that I should be doing. So I started a summer camp right out of my house. I made another flyer on my phone, told them everything I was going to be offering. And I was, hoping that, parents weren't too skeptical about this program that I was running from my house. But I had 20 parents that believed in this 19-year-old kid to run a summer camp from his home. And I taught them all summer. We did all the skill trades. We learned, how to work on cars, work on houses. We were reading every day. Right here in my dining room, I put some tables together. I had me a small dry erase board, and I taught in my dining room every day. And that's what we did. But it was beautiful to see. And so I graduated those children on my birthday of 2020, 2019, July 2019. I graduated them. That's my birthday present to myself every year. The summer camp graduates on my birthday. So July 26th is my birthday. And after that, I started a book club because the children that I noticed I was working with were having issues reading. 12 out of the 20 kids couldn't read. That was an extreme issue for me. And these children were in different grades. These boys were 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th grade, 11th grade. And I'm just like, how are you guys in school and passing through school and you can't read or write? This is absolutely ridiculous. So I started a book club, and now we have an 86% reading comprehension rate for our program. These children are actually learning how to read. And that's the beautiful thing, but of course I did that up until the end of 2019. Of course, the beginning of 2020, COVID happened. So I had to stop everything that I was doing. And I wasn't able to do the book club anymore, etc. But parents were still asking me to do something. And I didn't know what it is I was supposed to be doing. I was like, well, I don't know what to do because I'm not sure what's going on with this virus stuff. I don't want nobody to die or whatever. I didn't know what was going on. Parents were still asking. So I made up my mind. I said, well, these children are gonna do something. They got to come live with me for the summer. And the parents said, okay. So I got 7 children. I went and got some bunk beds and put them in my living room
and went to work.
Made it happen. We made it happen. So I went and found an old apartment complex some contractors was working on, and they taught my boys every day. We found a farm to work on every day. Somebody donated me a little small Dodge Caravan, and we rode around that little Dodge Caravan. We made it happen. And I always said I was never going to ride a soccer mom van, but I ain't had no choice. So,
you end up having
I ain't had no choice, but we made it happen anyway. We did all the skilled trades, etc. But during this summer camp, people were saying, you should start posting what you're doing because it's special. And I had been posting, but I wasn't like posting.
Sure.
So I started posting on Twitter and things like that, and we went viral on Twitter one time, and we got invited to the White House. And after that, like stuff skyrocketed so fast. Like everything happened so fast. All this that you've seen happen has happened in less than a year. Like everything that people are watching right now, it's all happened in less than a year. It hasn't even been a year yet. Just all this stuff's been happening. We went viral last October, and all this stuff has happened now, from us purchasing a school, us purchasing 40 acres of land. All that has happened in less than a year.
Small window of time. Listen, man, this is what the grind is really. I started the show to find people in the community and locally that are doing things, even nationally and in any shape or form. But what you're speaking is really that full behind the grind. I'm sure it sounds like what you were talking and you were going through how it was going. You were creating fires on the phone. It explains to me that it wasn't all about the hype. You were really out here for these boys, really leading the charge and really establishing and making impact. So let me, we won't get into some of this if we can, but let me go back. Like, you're only 21. I'm sure every interview you talk about, everyone is highlighting you're 21. You started at 19, but all this work has taken place. Now we have to ask the question, man. What is fueling your grind, man? What fueled your grind? Where did this start, man? How did you get to this point where you just said, hey, your mantra saying, do for self. How did you get to this place where you saying, I'm going to do for self?
Well, at one point I was in the arena of, politicking and trying to, ask our leaders and stuff for different things. But then I started researching Dr. King and Malcolm, and then I ran across a few Malcolm speeches, and I ran across a few Martin speeches. And I was like, this makes sense. Why don't we go and do it ourselves? So
they had a different message to what we had seen. Just go out here and get in politics and get involved. You had really listened to what they were actually saying. Is that what I'm getting?
Absolutely, because our civil rights leaders gave us the blueprint. They told us what to do, but we won't do it. We'll put all their pictures up and wear their t-shirts and all that, but won't go actually do what they're doing. That's kind of like how people do Malcolm. They try to reduce him to violence. I'm just like, you never saw a picture or a video of Malcolm fighting anybody. I'm like, he told you to fight back, just in case. Right. But he was all strategy, but nobody wanted to do what he was saying. So I decided to go do exactly what he asked us to do. And obviously it's working. So, people may disagree and things like that, but you can't dispute the results. So obviously what we're doing is working. My age obviously doesn't matter because it's working. So, I just want to make sure we're eradicating those excuses, for all the people that have told, Black people, we can't go do this, that, and the third. We want to make sure we're eradicating those excuses.
Man, I mean, I just recently moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Michigan. I really grew up in Flint, Michigan, lived in Detroit area. But, Flint kind of has like that rap has a stigma of violence and different things like that. And so I think that's what draws me to your story when we talk about Albany. It's a place where if you could describe what is the makeup there? How is it made up there? Is it a lot of things going on, a lot of things happening? What's the makeup there?
Well, nothing's really happening in Albany. We don't have any entertainment spots. I mean, we have a skating ring, the movies, but that's about it. I mean, and we have a lot of clubs.
Okay.
But there's no like major business here. We don't have our mall is like a flea market.
Yeah.
Like it's really it's 77% black people here.
Yeah. Okay.
But all we have is restaurants and
Right.
food,
Right.
but we don't really have anything going on here at all. We have to go to Atlanta to go have some fun,
Right.
but there's nothing here like at all. No buildings, no big buildings, no
Right.
skyscrapers, and we have the space for it. I mean, if
Yeah.
we wanted to make it like a flourishing city like Atlanta, it could happen. Of course,
Right.
me and my boys are gonna go do it in 5 to 10 years, but right now, it's. I mean, that's where we are. So I'm just like, coming up with different ideas.
Yeah.
Because the city of Albany could be something great. I mean, we could have our own, almost like a black Mecca. I mean, it's
Right.
77% black people here, but we only thing we own is churches and funeral homes. But we want to keep complaining
Yeah.
about what's going on in our neighborhoods and what's going on in our community and why nothing's working. I'm just like, because we have to go and change it. But
Yeah.
people are being inspired now because they felt like they couldn't do it, but now people are seeing possible from a young kid.
Yeah.
And now these other boys, that are growing up get to see possible. And I always tell them, I'm like, man, if y'all think I'm so cool at 21, wait till my boys turn 21, they're gonna be bad. They're gonna be unstoppable.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's why I want to pull that out, because a lot of times we talk about the big cities, which is no shade on any of that, but just in our local small city, wherever city we're in, I'm not calling Albany small, but any place, if you get to do it, like you said, get to doing the work, we can create change, we can make impact. And look, this little space that you're doing the work in has created a ripple effect, and all of us are listening to you, and it's drawing attention to a city that had not been, hadn't been viewed for probably quite some time, I'm assuming. So
absolutely.
Let's talk about this a little bit too. You said you gave the makeup of the city, and it sounds like, I know you have this, the conservative term, right? Obviously. Mm-hmm. So growing up or being in that area, is that term, when you say conservative, does that trigger people around you?
Oh,
how
absolutely.
does that work?
Of course, it triggers people because of what TV tells you, or the black conservatives they'll put on TV for you.
Sure.
They don't actually give you like it's a whole sector of grassroots black conservatives. Yeah. And then what's crazy is when I started explaining what it means to me, people are like, oh, I don't disagree with that. I'm like, I know you don't, because your granddad was conservative, your grandma was conservative. All of them believed in conserving traditional family values. They think it means like white races and stuff like that. I'm like, it's white races on the liberal side too. It's white races everywhere.
Right.
However, that's just something people equate with the word.
Of course.
You have to, but these conversations are important, which is why I'm glad what I'm doing is actually getting people to ask questions.
Yeah.
Because what's been happening is the other side has been lying, this whole time about the other side. And I'm just like, nah, come listen to what we're talking about, because what I speak is straight Malcolm and Martin all day.
Okay.
Whatever, but they'll, of course, tell you on TV it's the opposite. And, again, they just buy you with a smile. And so I have to get people to understand, like, we can go do for self, but then also people like to use the excuse to try to combat that just because, that doesn't mean that the government, we got to absorb. I'm like, I didn't say don't take no assistance. I said, don't wait on it. Like, stop trying to find a clapback. No, ain't got time for no clapback. We got work to do.
Right.
I'm like, because obviously we've been waiting and getting the government assistance and waiting for politicians to do it for God knows how many years now, and our communities are still trash. Right. And what's crazy is the most trash communities are the ones run by Democrats. So,
Okay. All right. So what I like about it is you're drawing people from both sides, I'm assuming, with this work, because you've taken an approach, which I think all of us should adopt to what you're doing. You've taken an approach to take action. Yeah, we can talk, we can state our opinions, we can do all of these different things, but at the end of the day, it's the results. What are you doing, right? That really matters. It's not what you're talking about, it's really what you're doing. And so I think regardless of what side of the coin, and that's not what this is about today per se, but regardless of what the side, we can all meet in the fact that you're in the city, you're amongst the people that things are happening, and you're making and creating change, and you're showing us how to do that. Is that what I'm getting from the demonstration of what's going on?
That's it. You got to do the work. Got to do the work. It's that simple. All the rhetoric, even, like going on Roland Martin show, all rhetoric. I ain't got time for rhetoric. I got work. Every conservative that he's had on the platform, he's destroyed every last one of them except me, because I do work. You can't beat work.
That's awesome, man. This is awesome. So let's talk about that experience a little bit, if we can. Obviously, you had this moment. Like I said, you've been doing work, as you've stated, prior to this viral moment. So it's not like something just happened after this experience, but obviously it drew more people and more attention to you. Before going into that particular encounter per se, were you aware of what was going to come out of that, or were you just going to talk about the work that you were doing and it just kind of turned sour? What really happened there?
Well, I was a fan of Roland Martin before. I
Okay.
watched some of his commentary and things like that. But I made a video one time I put it on Twitter, and I was talking about us going to do for self in our communities, and he shared the
Yeah.
video and called me an idiot. And I was
Okay.
like, what? So I was like, okay. And I was like, all right. So I kind of ignored it or whatever, and I just unfollowed him or
Sure.
whatever like that. But he went and
Hmm.
tagged me again in another tweet about voter suppression or whatever like
Okay.
that. And
Okay.
that's not my area. I don't do politics. I'm just
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
okay, like you tagged me in this for what? Like, but I'm like, secondly, I was like, he's like Black Republicans in Georgia. I'm like, I'm not a Republican, I'm independent, first of all. I'm like, so let's start there. I'm like, but this is
Yeah.
not my fight.
Right.
But he also tagged another friend of mine. He's my friend, he's an actual Republican, but we from the
Okay.
same city.
Okay.
And he grew up in the hood as well.
Okay.
But so he asked us to come on the show, and my friend couldn't come because he's a press secretary for Byron Donalds.
Okay.
But I came on. I was just like, well, I'll just go in there and tell him that this is not my fight, and I believe we should do for self. So I went on there and told him exactly that. I believe this is not my fight. There are different parts to the body, and I don't fight in this area. I fight and work with children. If people want to ask about voter suppression, I will send them to people who fight voter suppression.
That's good.
But as far as me, I work with children. Just like the people who fight for voter suppression can't work with children, they send them to me.
That's good.
So I'm just like, there's different parts of the body. He was like, well, what do you mean by do for self? He thought I was going to come with some theory. He thought I was about to come with some rhetoric. No, I can't. But what we have done already, is this.
Yeah.
So he couldn't really say anything about that. He kept trying to fight against that and ask about government. This, I'm like, I don't care what you're saying.
Right.
We got to go and do for self. So it is what it is with that. But I mean, it's okay. I don't really get into any negativity. He made more tweets after that, made another video. I don't respond because people are going to try to come find who I am, and they're going to come make sure that obviously I'm doing some work.
Yeah.
So,
and it's
not my work speak.
Yeah, it hasn't stopped you from the work at all. So recently, and maybe this has happened quite a while, like maybe I just came into knowledge of it. You had displayed a video talking about you've taken 40 acres. Is that what's that about?
I just closed on it last week.
Okay.
I bought 40 acres of land to assist with my young men in the program, teaching them wilderness training. We're going to also have a fresh food market on that land because on that side of town where I purchased it is a food desert. There's no grocery store on that side of town. So we want to make sure we're doing that, growing food out there so we can actually put the food in the fresh food market, and we'll sell seasonal vegetables and seasonal fruits and things like that. But also we want to make sure the boys, again, are learning wilderness training, how to survive in the wild, etc. So this 40 acres, we may put other things on it like basketball courts and stuff like that. But again, I told people, we've been talking about 40 acres for a long time. Well, I decided to go take it. I mean, you can make these things happen. I'm just like, well, you're 21. I'm like, yeah, well, manage your money correctly. It's not that hard, because it is what it is. Ain't no mortgage on it or nothing. It's paid cash, so we can do it. But kids get to see this. My boys was in there when I signed on the land. When we closed on it, I had them in there watching.
Yeah, what an experience.
And of course, like, it don't really register with them right now, but man, when them kids turn like 20, my age, 23, 24, they're gonna be like, man, this King, he taught us a whole lot of stuff, man. We was doing some crazy stuff. Cause I like right now, like when my former stepdad was teaching me like all this stuff, like how to build stuff and all that. Like I had fun, I was doing it, but it didn't register to like now. And when I'm getting old, I'm like, man, like he really gave me like
he set you up.
Yeah, like if it went for him, I wouldn't even be doing this. So like I have to call him now. I'd be like, I call him and be like, man, I appreciate it and stuff. So we call him and I talk to him and stuff like that.
That's good.
Yeah, like he set me up to do, what it is I'm doing now. So it just gave me the drive.
Let's talk about something in that, because I think that's, for us older guys, right? We're looking at you again, you're inspiring us, but you wear a shirt that says Big Boy Faith. I think there's something to that, because, when you start getting older, obviously we start thinking, start getting conscious, we start thinking about, what they may do, what this may do, it may impact. You're in a space right now, like your shirt says, and maybe you can explain this a little bit better, but Big Boy Faith, you just stepping out like, hey, I it's promised to me, is what I can do. What's stopping me from doing it? So tell us, where did that come about with this Big Boy Faith? Like, how did you come up with this slang? Did you get this from somebody else, or, I mean?
Yeah, so I always ask the boys, I always tell them, I'm like, you and Jesus have the same father, so how you look at Jesus is special and not yourself. So I always tell them, Jesus said, greater work shall you do. So I always try to make sure, that the boys get to see me walking on water and get to see me, you know, out here raising the dead and helping the blind to see, etc. They get to see this all the time. But I'm like, you're just as special, you know. Don't make it seem like you're not as special because you got the same dad. You can't have the same daddy and can't do the same things, you know. So
that's good.
But I want to make sure the boys are understanding that. So, but we was building shopping at the time. We were looking for our school building, and I was making a video about it, and I had said big boy faith. Got to have some big boy faith on the video. I just ran.
So you just talking. Like, you just talking.
Yeah, I was talking, and it turned into a shirt. I was like,
talking,
oh yeah, that's our new catchphrase. Yep, that's our new catchphrase, big boy faith, because you got to have some big boy faith to make it happen. Because I always tell the boys, like, I call and ask for anything. What they can say is no. So I mean, I didn't have it anyway, so it's not going to affect me if they say no. But people are always scared to hear that. No, I call somebody and ask for. I call Donald Trump right now and ask him for a hotel. Can I have one of your hotels? The worst he can say is no. You know, so it is what it is.
That's awesome.
So, it is what it is. You got to have some big boy faith because you never know what'll happen if you just ask.
Okay. And we're coming to the end of this, but there's one other thing that I noticed, and I did want to ask you a little bit about this. Your handles, you know, your social media handles, it says what, New Emerging King. What is that? What is that about, and how did that come about? Like,
absolutely. So all of my handles are New Emerging King. The reason all of my handles are New Emerging King is because I know my purpose since I was a child. And I told my parents my purpose when I was a kid. I told them I was here to finish what Dr. King started. So my whole life, my grandparents never let me forget what I told them as a kid. I had a rebellious lifestyle when I growing up. I wasn't a bad kid, but I always tried to rebel against
you were questioning things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because my grandma would always tell me, don't forget you're here to finish what Dr. King started. Don't forget what you told me. You know, my grandma was really spiritual, so she was like, there was nobody but God, etc. So even when I went to the military, like all of my boot camp letters, my grandma's in there like, I don't care what you call yourself doing. Don't forget you're here to finish what Dr. King started. So I finally turned like 18 and I started researching Dr. King and watching all his speeches, read all his books, look at FBI files. I'm like, what exactly like did he not do? So I fast forward. I went to the Dr. King Memorial in Atlanta.
Yeah.
While I was there, I was looking for answers. I'm just like, I went to his gravesite and I just sat there for about an hour.
Wow.
And I'm just like, well, maybe I'll get some energy or something. I don't know. You know, it's like, I don't know. So I kept going. I went through the museum like 3 times, and I went to this one room in there where they have the carriage that carried his casket through the city. And all on the walls, all the headlines from his funeral and stuff like that. You know, King Slave, King Assassinated, you know, and stuff like that. And one stuck out to me from the Pittsburgh Courier, April 20th, 1968, and the headline said, "Will a new king emerge?"
Wow.
And from that's where I get all of my social media handles from, New Emerging King. And so, and I kind of figured out what he didn't do. I always say, imagine if Dr. King would have trained some replacements, if he would have trained some children to come up behind him, you know, so now I'm not even scared. You know, when I turn 35, 36, you can kill me, but then you have to drop a bomb on these thousands of other children that know the same message, you know, so it wouldn't be no point in getting rid of me. So I always say they need to train replacements now, you know, because nobody's working with children and well, boys in particular, because we have 1,000 girls programs. There's nothing for boys.
True. That is so true.
There's nothing for boys. We have 1 million girls programs. People are always like, King, you should start doing stuff for girls. I'm like, nope, go send them to one of the girls programs.
I love it.
Our boys need teaching. So yeah, our boys don't have any major programs at all. Like we have a little stuff for boys. I'm like, no, we need something big for boys. That's consistent, you know, with them, because that's what they need, some consistency and being around men. But yeah, that's what my social media handles come from. New Emerging King, Pittsburgh Courier, April 20th, 1968. Will a new king emerge?
Nice. You know, this has been wonderful, man. Again, to chop it up with you and just to talk to you, man. I'm just thinking about all of this. You know, you are tackling something big, but what I like about it all, you started where you were, right where you were, however small, whatever money you had, whatever flyer you created on your phone, you started right where you were, and it has allowed with nothing. And you know, the light has now started to shine your way per se, but you were obviously you're concerned about everything going on in the world. I'm sure, you know, police brutality, whatever else is going on in the world, that probably rocks your world too. But you said, hey, I'm going to work around the area in which I am. And it's still now opening up so many doors. So that's,
I don't address any negativity. I don't address any world events, etc. I just do something positive to combat any negativity that I see. So I don't comment on, you know, no police shootings anymore. I don't comment on none of it, because I don't need my people to see that. They need to see positivity all day, every day.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. Before we get out of here, man, you know, I will just kind of shift it. I don't know if you into music or so. If you had an opportunity to share the stage with somebody, a rapper, or any dead or alive, who would you share the stage with?
My favorite rapper is Travis Scott. I do not fanboy over anybody but that man.
Okay.
I don't care about no celebrities. Like, I've been around many celebrities. My manager has a studio up in Atlanta, a big studio where they come shoot videos and stuff. I see those guys all the time.
Yeah.
Don't care. But Travis Scott, I will go nuts the day I meet him. I will go complete nuts.
What is it about? What is it about him that?
Oh, well, Travis Scott, he's a extreme Christian. I'm a Christian as well. However, everybody got their walk. I know he's rap about certain stuff. They got their walk. But he's really family oriented. He loves his family. He takes his family everywhere and stuff. I love who he is as a person.
Yeah.
He's really active with his fans. You know, he's not like a butthole off camera and stuff like that. Plus, I love the music. His music's different. His music videos are different. Like, he don't just, like most videos, you see is booty shaking and all that. He may have that here and there, but all his videos like are weird and got like the different color schemes and stuff. His music sounds different. He's not like the typical rapper. Like, he has his own flow, all that stuff. But his real name is Jock Webster II.
Oh, really?
His real name is Jock Webster. He gets the name Travis Scott from he got two inspirations. But he named himself Travis Scott. That's his stage name. But his real name is Jock Webster II. His nickname is Jack. Okay. I'm gonna have to check. Why his record label is Cactus Jack.
I'm gonna have to check him out again. I'm an old head, so I'm thinking you coming with Tupac or somebody like that. But no, this is good. This is good. I appreciate that. I love Travis Scott, man. I appreciate this. But before we get out of here, of course, I know most people probably already know how to find you, how to get around, get the information from you. But just for the sake of our audience, the few that may not have heard about you, how can they go about finding out about the work that you're doing currently?
Absolutely. Well, our website is theexforboys.org. That's THE, the letter X, FORBOYS.org. You can go there and find all my social media handles. You can go there to see how to order merchandise. You can go there to see all of our pictures and videos and everything we've done. You can go there and figure out how to donate. You can go there to see how to volunteer. Everything's on the website, theexforboys.org. And of course, if you can't find it there, all of my social media handles are New Emerging King. If you can't find me there, you can just go type in King Randall or the X for Boys on Google. If you can't find it there, I'll go to you.
I love it. Can I can get one of them big? I can get one of them big boy shirts on the website.
Yes. I just closed the store right now because we're getting an influx of orders. So I want to make sure our merchandise team is able to catch up. However, send your address to my assistant, and we'll get you a shirt sent out.
Man, that's awesome. Well, man, you guys have heard it here. This was just a fabulous conversation today. Again, this is behind the grind, right? Behind the grind. Obviously, we see people out here talking and doing all this thing, but it's really the work that we're doing, boots on the ground, the work that we're doing. And we have a true life example of an individual, only 21, doing this thing, man. He's not worried about you liberals and conservatives. He's just doing the work out here and impacting lives and making things happen. So make sure you share this episode. Make sure you let other people know that have not heard about King Randall. Make sure that you put them up on him and go and support the work. That's the main thing. Go and support the work that he's doing. There's a lot more work that he's doing and the impact that he's doing there in Albany, Georgia, and what God is going to do for him beyond. We'll wait. We're going to watch and see what God is going to do beyond this point. But until the next time, this is Sherrod, and this is Behind the Grind.